Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down to you exactly how to manage your property like a professional, right? So stay tuned till the end, because not only will I show you how to find and manage a tenant, but also how to make sure your investment increases over time. So this video is for anyone who plans on being a landlord at any point in time in their life, which I hope is you, or if you are currently a landlord, this video is definitely for you, right? Let's get started. I'm sure you've heard me say or heard someone say at some point that property is an investment that increases in value over time, which is true. However, if you do not manage your property investment properly, if you do not find the proper tenants and you're unable to maintain it appropriately, it will not appreciate in the way that you might think it will. In fact, it might even decrease in value over time. So stay tuned and I'm going to break down to you exactly what I mean. So let's start at the beginning, right? A landlord is someone who owns a property and leases it out to a tenant. And a tenant is someone who leases a property from a landlord. And as a landlord, you have responsibilities. You have responsibilities to your tenant. However, you also have responsibilities to your actual investment. It's more than you just collecting rents on a month-to-month basis. It starts all the way from you purchasing the property at the right price, which I believe to be a price below market value, which is a conversation for another day, right? Once you've purchased the property, it's up to you to set the rentals at a market-related rental. It doesn't make sense if you're going to purchase a property, then set the rentals at 6,000 rands. Meanwhile, the market-related rent for the area is 5,000 rands, right? And then you need to find your tenant and making sure you find a quality tenant, that is. Now, this brings me to my next point. You need to find a tenant. Whatever means of advertising you want to use, whether it's property websites, using Facebook, Instagram, word of mouth, you need to be able to find yourself a quality tenant and set up viewings for your tenants. Now, when you do have your inquiries from different people, you remember when you're setting up the viewings, remember there's a few things in the screening process that you need to do. And these words that I'm about to say right now, I need you to understand them and I need you to actually keep them at the back of your mind. That having no tenant is better than having a bad tenant. And let me explain why. So the failure or success of your property investments is dependent on the type of tenant that you place, right? It starts all the way from the process of you actually setting the right rental amount, which is a market-related rental. Thereafter, making sure your property is in a good condition, in a livable condition, so that someone, when they want to move in, when they view the property, they would actually want to move in, right? Advertising, so as I mentioned before, whatever means of advertising that you want to use, make sure that you do advertise your property. And then you're going to have to manage inquiries. People will inquire, they'll call you, they'll text you, they'll email you, they'll be inquiring about coming to view the property, and you have to manage those inquiries to make sure that you're never late for your appointments and you follow up with people who maybe called you and you missed their call and so forth, right? Once you found your tenant, you'll have to screen the tenant. Thereafter, finally, you have a tenant. You'll have to sign the lease agreement, and at the end of it, you'll do your moving in inspection to make sure that anything and everything that is in good condition, the tenant recognizes it and signs an acknowledgement to say this property was in this condition when I moved in. Now, I'm sure you understand all the terms that I just mentioned. I just want to zoom in specifically on the screening part, screening your tenant, because this is very important. If you are interested in the other 6 stages, you should definitely read a book by David Beattie called The Expert Landlord. This is a book that helped me a lot as a landlord, and I'm sure it can help you too. I'm actually going to be meeting him next week. We'll be having a conversation on property management, and I'm definitely going to share that conversation with you right here on YouTube. So you need to find the ideal tenant, right? And finding the ideal tenant, to me, basically, is a tenant that pays well, takes care of your investments, a tenant that is going to behave well as well. And there's a few steps in which I look at specifically when I'm going to be looking for this ideal tenant. First thing is they need to earn at least 3 times the amount of rentals that I'm charging. So if the property is going for 5,000 rands per month, ideally I'd want the tenant to earn at least 15,000 rands. This is just to make sure that they are able to afford the property. And as much as we all face the risk of tenants not paying rent, but I believe if they earn at least 3 times, no matter what happens in any given month, they'll be able to manage if they earn at least 3 times the rentals that I'm charging. Next, I'm gonna get 2 references from their previous landlord. The reason why I say 2 references is because the first one, I want to know exactly where they're staying right now and how are they paying, how are they treating the property where they are living right now, to get an understanding from that landlord. And then the second reference I'm getting is from the landlord before that. The reason why I'm doing this is because where they're staying right now, if they're a horrible tenant, then that landlord is likely trying to get rid of them. And they're going to tell me all the nice stories about how wonderful they pay, how well they take care of their investments. Meanwhile, that's not necessarily the truth, which is why I'm going to get an understanding. That's why I'm going to contact the previous landlord to get an understanding of how were they in their property. That landlord has no reason to lie to me because the tenant has left already, right? There are obviously risks associated with contacting that landlord, because you never might really know if they're really telling the truth. But at the end of the day, I believe that as people, we generally are honest, which might not be the case, but I like to believe so, right? After that, I'm going to do a credit check. With the permission of the tenant, I obtain the permission first, which is very important. I do a credit check to understand if there's any outstanding judgments on them, because that credit check will also give you a better understanding of what type of person they are. Are they someone who generally pays their debtors, or are they someone who runs away? If there's outstanding judgments on their name, then it's really going to make me uncomfortable to make that person my tenant. Not that I won't, but I'm just saying that it's going to make me uncomfortable to know that you don't pay your debts. So what if one day you decide not to pay my rent? So let's make an example. Let's say I meet a lovely girl and I'd love to be in a relationship with her. She ticks all my boxes and I've screened her. Everything is perfect, right? So we go on our first date. I buy her a bunch of flowers. And she may not like flowers, but this is definitely guaranteed to start things off well, because it's the gesture that counts at this stage, right? So we get into our relationship. She enjoyed the flowers. We enjoy our date. We start dating. Obviously, in the relationship, things won't be perfect because I'm not perfect. There'll be times where I make mistakes. There'll be times where I need to compromise to make her happy. And I'm willing to do that because I'm intending on keeping this relationship for long-term purposes. And if at the end of the day, things just don't work out, it's okay. We'll part ways, and at least I'll know that I try to do everything in my power to keep her happy and to stay. And there's no hard feelings, we move on. So that's exactly how I keep my rental properties as well. Upon moving in, I buy you a bottle of champagne. Whether you drink alcohol, you don't like champagne, doesn't really matter. At this stage, it's the gesture that counts. I'm saying welcome to your new home. Congratulations, basically, right? So as the relationship that me and you as a tenant-landlord relationship that we have, as it continues, it will be much easier for you to communicate with me if there's ever a time where you cannot pay rent. And this will also help me to prepare as a landlord. If there's ever any maintenance or something that needs to be fixed within the property, it will be easier for me to communicate with you to say, hey, I'll be available this weekend. I'll get someone to come fix it, and I'll do my best to make you happy and make sure that the property that you are staying in is in perfect condition, right? So if at the end of the day you decide to buy your own home, to move to a different province and break our relationship up, it's no hard feelings, we move on. So keeping your tenants happy means they will stay longer, which means they will treat your property like a home, and that's exactly what you're looking for as a landlord. Now, to everyone who currently is a landlord, there's one thing I want to say, is I understand. A lot of people think just because you're a landlord, they think you're rich. And chances are you're probably not in some cases, because the rental amount that you're getting every single month, there might be a bond attached to it, rates and taxes that you need to pay. And if you're lucky, making a profit of, like, let's say 500 Rand a month, you're always constantly worried about, will your tenants pay your rent? Especially in these tough times, you don't know who's losing their job. You don't know who's getting a salary pay cut. The maintenance, the constant maintenance that you need to do to your property, managing the property sometimes is a headache. And I do understand. It is difficult to be a landlord and becoming a landlord. There are many challenges that you will face, and that I'm still going to face that I have absolutely no idea what they are of today. But one thing I can guarantee you is that it's worth it. The challenges that you face as a landlord ultimately outweigh, I believe, the benefits of owning a property. So I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any inputs, comments, questions, or any other video suggestions that you'd like me to do, hit me up in the comments below and I'll definitely address them. My next video is going to be with David Beattie, the author of The Expert Landlord, so definitely look out for that as well and enjoy. Cheers.